So we've all been waiting for the US to introduce legislation that gives regulatory clarity to the crypto market. But is this really the bill, the one being talked about right now? And we have some details today that we were hoping it would be. It would seem that there are some good things, and one thing that I really don't like in short term could absolutely tank altcoins. Welcome to the Crypto Rain channel. I'm your host, Jay Rain. If you like money in crypto and are looking for a real investor take on the crypto market, join the Rainmaker family. Do note I'm not a financial advisor. I'm a crypto investor myself, and I do own or plan to own most of what I talk about on this channel. I just don't talk about crypto projects I don't believe in. Special shout out to our Patreon members. We do have a private Discord that our Patreon members get access to. Now make it rain on that like button and strap in for the show. So welcome our producer, D Money.
Yo, Jay, how's it going today?
Good. I'm looking forward to going through some of the news, even though this first piece of news I'm not really happy about, and we'll talk about the pros and cons of it.
Yeah, it's not looking great, but yeah, whatever. I mean, it's good stuff to we gotta know this stuff, right?
Yeah, we always want to be aware of what's real out there and what's happening, even if we don't like what's happening. That way we can factor it in and weigh the pros and cons, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So this is a Twitter thread that we have here. If you'll bring up, there we go. Of what's happening. And Senator Cynthia Lummis says, we've been teasing it for months, but the time is almost here. A proposal to fully integrate digital assets into our financial system. Sounds really exciting, right? She said, excited to finally unveil this effort next week. Stay tuned. So recently, the Heritage Foundation hosted a panel with everyone who worked on or influenced the legislation. The biggest issue with regulation is currently the U.S. leaders don't understand crypto. Now, there's this video on BitTown that's got Senator Ted Cruz, Caitlin Long, Kevin Roberts, and they just go through some of their thoughts on what's happening. And what you notice in this is that it heavily favors Bitcoin. As you see that here, the issue is every person on this panel heavily favors Bitcoin. It's legislation being written and introduced by a group of Bitcoin maxis. Horrendous for other L1s. Now, how would it be horrendous? This is how it'd be horrendous. It's a comprehensive bill. It will be filed on June 7th. It includes coins that are commodities, coins that are securities. Yo. I didn't want it to do that. It includes a discussion about CBDCs, consistent with what we have heard earlier, and a small nod to NFTs. Essentially, they want to make anything other than Bitcoin regulated as a security. So it would define, if it passes or is in still the same form as the draft, would make Bitcoin fall under the CFTC or a commodity, which is fantastic news. We love that news. But then throwing everything else at altcoins, classifying them as a security, which I don't really like. Now, I know a lot of people have this feeling that's like, regulation, we need regulation. Well, we need regulatory clarity. Regulation itself, heavy regulation, does not help innovation. It hurts and hampers innovation. Politicians love the ability to say no, because when they have the ability to say no to everything, then you have to lobby them. You have to donate to them, wink, wink, in order to get that no to a yes. So regulators often love as much regulation as possible, so they get a choice to say no or yes to everything. And then they get a chance to say yes to just the ones that showed up at that campaign dinner. Now, they can't tie it directly to that campaign dinner, but you know how this happens. And so this is why actually deregulation helped the internet boom happen. Deregulation of the phone industry in the United States really led to the internet boom. Notice I didn't say regulation, I said deregulation. So light regulatory clarity is exactly what's needed, not heavy regulation. It doesn't look like this heavy regulation, but if they do deem altcoins as securities, well, then it's going to fall into some heavy regulation that's already there. So even though this might not be heavy regulation directly, indirectly, it could be. Now, interestingly enough, this is being proposed on the floor. That doesn't mean this is going to happen. Who knows? Supposedly, Caitlin Long has some bipartisan support from is she on the Republican side, Dee? Do you know? I think,
Caitlin Long.
yeah.
I'm not. Caitlin
Not
Long
Caitlin
is.
Long.
I don't think that she's in the Senate or in the House. I think that she's. I
What I
think she's
meant
a
to say.
private.
Senator Cynthia Loomis.
Yeah, so she's. I think she's on the Republican side. Yeah,
Yeah, I think she's on the
she's from
Republican side.
Wyoming. Yeah.
And she was working with a Democrat senator. And so we'll see how much bipartisan support there is on this. Some, like Elizabeth Warren on the Democrat side, like want nothing to do with cryptocurrencies and want it heavily regulated out of existence. Of course, Senator Warren makes a lot of money from banks and, well, let's say banking donations to her fund. So I'm sure that's not affecting her decisions at all. But other senators are more open to it. And we'll see actually down at the bottom of this thread that like Sam Bankman-Fried is saying he's going to spend up to $1 billion in the 2024 election. Now, I think even if this is pretty Bitcoin maximalist, if it does get proposed this way, there are some big lobbying efforts from, say, Cardano, from Ripple, and other things that are an altcoin, and they want to make sure this regulation is fair to them. And I would prefer to see them regulated by the CFTC, which regulates commodities as well. So we'll see how this plays out. This is kind of like the first salvo, and then a lot of these things get debated and stuff. I hope it doesn't pass as it's being discussed. And if it does pass, perhaps they give an exemption to all the altcoins who, I don't know, launched prior to the date that they do that, and give them this exemption so that that doesn't open them up to the next 8 years having the SEC go after each one of them individually, much as they've done with Ripple. So we want to bring you this news because this is news, and I don't like the sound of it now, but there's hope that it can be shaped, be a little bit more fair. I would love to see light regulation and clarity. Heavy regulation would be good for the banks and bad for technology growth and everyone else. So we'll see how this shapes out. But there's a lot of stakeholders, or i.e. those with large lobbying efforts now in the U.S. who have not had their input on this.
So yeah, Jay, I guess that's where I was going to go. Is what do you think? I mean, this is a proposal, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, so it's gotta go through the Senate, and then it's got to go through the House. I mean, how much opposition do you think that this is going to have? Obviously, SBF we saw is going to put $1 billion into this election. But yeah, the thing I worry about is that maybe the crypto that there isn't enough money in the politicians' hands yet from the crypto space, and maybe that's where the constituents really need to step in and make their voices heard.
Yeah, because what's funny about politicians is they will always vote the way their donors want them to vote, unless they really hear a lot from their voters. So it's not like you don't have a voice, but if you don't call your representatives, your congressmen and your senators, then you don't. They're going to actually go the way their donors want, unless they're getting so many calls from their voters that they call their donors and they say, hey, I would like to support you on this, but I'm sorry, my office is getting flooded with these calls. It's not going to happen the way you want it to. So they will always tend towards where their donors want them to go, unless you make your voice heard. And what is great is we've seen that politicians are starting to wake up to how important this is to many of the voters. But I use the word start for a reason, because it's just they're starting to wake up. They only started becoming aware of this the last year, and only some of them are aware of this. But there was an article we covered before that 15% of Americans hold cryptocurrency, and most of those are single issue voters, meaning, hey, if you mess with my crypto, I'm not going to vote for you, no matter what else I like about you. And so that's powerful. And especially to politicians, that's something that they understand, especially career politicians. that, you know, their biggest worry really is the next re-election, because they don't know how to have a regular job outside of being a politician. You know, some of these people have been politicians literally their whole lives since they were like 24. And so getting unelected is really scary to them. So when they notice that, they will like start to factor that in. So we'll see how this shakes out. I don't know how the rest of the Senate, the US Senate and the US House will respond to this, and we'll watch very closely. It'll tell you who's kind of aware of this trend going with crypto and who's not by how the responses are. So you can tell a lot of people about people by how they respond to this. It tells you somewhat who their backers are. It tells you where their biases are. Who wouldn't be for this technological innovation that's going to bring about Web3? And altcoins are such a huge part of that. In fact, they're the biggest part of it. Bitcoin introduced a new idea of blockchain combined with cryptographical encryption, created this new technology, which was great. But that's like blockchain 1.0, and Bitcoin is a tremendous store of value, maybe even in the future, a decent form of currency. But it just opened a door to technological innovation that leads to what I call an ownership society in gaming, where you own the assets and you have a stake in the future of that game, because some of the assets that you hold that might go up in value, especially if it's like land in a game that becomes really popular. As well as many other things that altcoins bring about. Challenges with Bitcoin is it's so slow and bulky. And some of these third generation blockchains really streamline that and allow for better use of technology to make transactions across the world cheaper, faster, data storage, be able to do things it could never do before. And so altcoins are bringing about Web3, and I would hate to see a bill that's really unfavorable to altcoins. I'd like to see the free market kind of vet this out, and there we'll cover some articles. There's a lot of projects that will fail in this, and as is always the case, much as there was in the .com space. So let's jump over to some other articles. That's my thoughts on this one. A lot of Bitcoin maxis. I mean, when I went to the Bitcoin conference a year and a half ago, I was shocked. I guess it was a year ago, how many Bitcoin maxis there were and how they didn't understand the technology past Bitcoin. Everything else to them was a crap coin. And that was surprising to me that they get it with Bitcoin. They're like, yes, I get it with blockchain. It's amazing. Oh, wait, anything else? No. Don't tell me. Don't talk to me. Let me close my mind. I don't want to hear it. It's like, how do you not get how this transforms gaming and this transforms a lot of other things? But they don't. And it seems in some ways that's kind of the feel I'm getting with this legislation is, okay, their mind open to the beginning of this technology, but haven't really grasped what this technology is going to lead to in the future. And we saw the same with the internet as the internet came about, and how politicians were kind of the last ones to get it. So we'll see. Jumping over, I wanted to go into this news about FTX, because FTX is going to be a powerhouse. And Sam Bankman-Fried, he's heavily involved in Democrat donations, and he's really looking to fund Democrats who are open-minded to cryptocurrency. And this has some of the old guard really, really concerned that and not happy, like Elizabeth Warren, right? Because he's going to come in and spend $1 billion. And, you know, maybe Elizabeth Warren keeps her seat, but then a lot of other people don't see things the same way she does. And so it really diminishes her power. They don't like that. They're the old guard, right? They like things the way they are, and they benefit very well from the way technology is, and they don't want things to change. It's human nature to not want things to change once you're feeling nice and comfortable. So, but FTX overtook Coinbase in Bitcoin volume for the first time ever in May, and that's big news. And Sam Bankman-Fried, he's been a big backer of Solana. We have some negative Solana news, and maybe it looks like that investment is not going very well, but sometimes it goes really bad before it goes good. Interesting to see how well FTX is doing, and doing more Bitcoin trading volume than Coinbase, which Coinbase, it being one of the first exchanges that didn't collapse after being hacked, like, Mt. Gox did. Coinbase been around for a long time and a trusted name, though a lot of us haven't appreciated their fees. It's good to see FTX come in, giving them some competition. Now, interestingly enough, cryptocurrency is, well, in a pullback, right? And this is leading to Coinbase freezing hiring, and they're actually going to rescind accepted job offers, which, yeah, they're seeing some concerns in their books. And probably a lot of what they're seeing, Coinbase makes a lot of fees for when you buy Bitcoin from your wallet, and they've had a monopoly on that for a long time, but that monopoly is going away. And they were able to make really big fees, which, hey, they did make it easy to buy Bitcoin, which we all appreciated. And we've all been looking forward to a lot more fiat gateways that just have cheaper fees. And they're feeling the pressure from this, I'm sure, because their revenues are down, posting a 430 million loss in Q1 2022. That is a huge loss. So they're doing a hiring freeze. And a lot of new money isn't coming into crypto right now. Now we are seeing Bitcoin whales accumulating more Bitcoin, which we frequently see in these pullbacks. But a lot of the retail market and others are sitting on the sidelines because they actually like to chase green candles rather than buying when it's down. They like to buy after their friends tell them how much they've made. Their friends that were smart and bought when it was down. A lot of retail likes to buy when they hear the stories about how their friends made 10x, often leading them to buy near the top. So Ripple and FTX are, interestingly enough, going on the hunt for acquisition targets as the markets crashed. So while things are pulling back, both of these say their balance sheets are really solid and they're looking to make some acquisitions so that they can buy some businesses on the cheap, as we'll probably start to see a lot of mergers and acquisitions happen over this next 4 years and some consolidations. And you see that whenever you see technology boom. I remember Microsoft going through some big booms. I remember knowing a 16-year-old kid that him and his business partner sold their business to Microsoft for $2 million. So I think it was $4 million, and him being a partner to it, he got half of that. He got $2 million as a 16-year-old kid. I think we're in that phase that there's going to be a lot of mergers and acquisitions. And a big part of what they're looking for is mergers that bring them a lot of user base or grow their networks. And so you'll see probably a lot of this in the coming 4 years. And while the market is cheap, they are buying. Specifically, they're buying businesses. On to Solana. Solana, you probably are all aware, but another bug brings down Solana's blockchain for 4 hours. And really, this was just the second outage that they've had in a month. Now, Cardano, I've covered a lot, and I like Cardano because they did the build slow and build right approach. And Solana went the build fast and break things and then try to fix them approach. And then you're just seeing the differences as to which one will win. They both are well funded. They both have good backing. As to which one wins down the road, I'm not sure. I'm leaning towards Cardano, but being fair to Solana, it's just kind of fallen down and scraped its knee a couple times. Maybe they continue to fix it. They do have a lot of financial backing with Sam Bankman-Fried and others. So Solana could end up doing extremely well, and maybe they both are big winners down the road. Now, a lot of people talking crap on crypto. Mark Cuban has been trying to help people see the bigger vision in sharing with people about the early days of the internet. And these same kind of things were said in the early days of the internet. And I was around during that time. And I remember on the news them saying, oh, this internet thing's a fad. And how will it ever replace stores? Because people want to go in and touch what they're going to buy. Well, who ended up being right? Amazon ended up being right? Amazon now one of the largest companies in the world. And so sometimes people want to go in and touch and feel whatever it is they're going to buy, but sometimes they just want to order on the internet for cheaper than they could get at their local store. And so technology changes behavior over time, and cryptocurrency is going to change a lot of things in the coming years. In some ways, it's going to bring down costs. It's going to increase capabilities of what the internet can do, as well as I like the aspect of ownership, because ownership allows regular everyday people to participate in growth of value in things that grow in value. And so I like in video gaming this ownership idea of the NFTs. And some of those NFTs, a lot of them will end up worthless, and some of them will be worth hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars. And maybe even some of those that aren't very expensive today. And so we'll see that in other aspects. Cryptocurrency, I like the ability to put a little bit of money into cryptocurrency and then a little bit more and a little bit more, especially as it's down, and have that grow into something amazing, much better than what your retirement or pension could do. Well, on that though, note that there are a lot of altcoins that are going to fail. Now, this one hasn't failed. This is a meme coin, and I personally just don't invest in meme coins, but this has been a big one. Shiba Inu, and their founder Ryoshi deleted his posts and his social media stuff, leading a lot of people to speculate that he's kind of disappearing. And one of the other backers has been vocal and saying that they're still around. Who knows what this is about? I don't. I haven't even followed it very closely because I just don't invest in meme coins. They're a lot like pulling the slot machine at a casino. They could hit big, but chances are they won't. And there's usually not that much innovation behind them. They're really about fun gambling, right? So think of a slot machine with like a dog, cute dog face on it. And some people want to pull that slot machine. Personally, I like things that just have better chances of higher returns. So meme coins aren't for me, but I do loosely follow what's going on with them. And this is a really interesting update. Now, Vice says Discord is the center of the crypto world, and that's a problem. Well, I get what they're hinting at. And here's what they're hinting at is that, oh my gosh, you just can't vet who these companies are because on Discord server, and also you get messages and it could be a scam. You're right. It is the wild, wild west. Part of the amazing thing about the wild, wild west is there's tons of opportunities. By the time all the people in suits get here and banks and everything is super regulated and controlled, a lot of the hyper growth will be extracted out of it. And so, yes, it is the Wild West, and you do have to be careful. There are tons of scammers, really genius people, and all they think about is how to take your money, take your altcoins from you. And that's what they're saying is such a problem, is you just don't have the ability to vet them. But isn't that true to life? How do you vet them, right? So, yeah, I mean, in Twitter, you have a little bit better vetting because it is harder to create accounts with, say, lots of followers. But people can create an account. They can pay somebody to get a whole bunch of bots to create a whole bunch of followers for them. They can throw you off there. It is hard to do that on Twitter than it is on Discord. And maybe that's what they're hinting at is go to Twitter. It's better. I like both of them. Discord is really, really good for the crypto gaming stuff. And most of them will have a Discord, and it's great for engagement. It's a lot easier to follow. They'll usually have an announcement channel and everything. So I get what they're hinting at. Discord is the place to be with blockchain gaming, and it just is what it is. Maybe there'll be a better technology in the future, but right now, there's nothing better. All right. So Davos 2022, crypto firms say thousands of digital currencies will collapse. They compare the market to early .com days, and they're not wrong. We will see thousands and thousands. In fact, there's 19,000 cryptocurrencies in existence by one number that I read, and that number is probably low. There's probably more, and there are dozens of third generation blockchains. Now, we don't know which ones are going to survive, and the ones that ultimately survive are different than the ones that might do well during the coming 4 years. I approach this as an investor. I invest in a lot of things that might not even survive the next 20 years because the truth is maybe only 2 to 5% of what's out there today will be around in 20 years from now. So I take a diversification approach and I invest in things. And when they do really well, I take profits out of it. So I get my risk out. Now, unfortunately, based on what the topic of today is, there is a strong chance altcoins are going to see a lot more pain. And I hope that's not the case because most everything I have is in altcoins. So I'm looking at whether I take some profits and sit on the sidelines or I just ride it out. A lot of what I often do is ride it out because if it does take a hit, and if I come to the conclusion for sure that it's going down and I'm going to be looking closely, I'll probably take some profits, put on the sidelines in stable coins just to see where this legislation goes. It is just a first round of this legislation. It takes months and months, sometimes years for this kind of thing to pass. And I would bet something as important as this won't pass till after the upcoming election, where a lot of fresh new blood is in that might be more aware of what cryptocurrencies really are, because there's a lot of old guard in place in the Republican and Democrat Party where a lot of their allegiances are to their big bank donors. So we'll see how this shakes out. But I wouldn't be surprised if this goes through a whole lot of changes, even if it does become law in the coming months. Let's look at some discussion on NFTs. Now, NFTs are down. Do you remember the crazy days, though? And they weren't too long ago, and people were paying crazy money for Bored Ape Yacht Club and CryptoPunks. And the prices have come down some, and we have this person paid. Nate Hart admired this drawing of a cat. Now, this was related to one of the first NFT projects out there, and it was called Crypto Kitties. And you could breed these cats, and essentially you could breed them endlessly. And it literally crashed the Ethereum chain in 2017, 2018 during the height of the bull run because this project went crazy and people were minting, breeding their cats endlessly, creating gas fee congestion like crazy on the ETH chain. Well, this person paid a hefty sum of 600,000 for this one. And yeah, he really, really liked it. And so it talks about how people during this height, and if you think about it, what was it, a year ago? Dee, did you follow this at all? Where somebody bought a Beeple art, and I think it was more a fund that they wanted to break it down into an NFT with like they could sell off pieces of the collection or part ownership of the collection, but they paid 69 million for a Beeple art piece. Did you ever
Good
see
night.
that?
I didn't. I think I heard about it, but that was a little bit, prior to when I was really
Yeah.
paying attention to crypto a whole lot. But that's bananas. Did you say 69 million?
Yeah, you started paying
It's
attention,
a
I think,
nice number,
July of
but
last year. Was it July
yeah,
or
August
August
or something like that. Yeah,
where you started to pay attention really closely and were
yeah,
just kind of vaguely familiar with it prior to that, right?
yeah, exactly.
69 million. Can you imagine? And it's probably, somebody paid 10.5 million for a pixelated image that resembled the Joker character in Batman. Wow. And 5.4 million for a token of Edward Snowden's face made out of court documents.
Oh my gosh.
That's some expensive art. And sometimes with art, what you paid for it is part of the story. And it is in these cases, right? Each of these cases that they're trying to give it value as one of the first things that sold for this much, hoping that long term it retains that as a status symbol. So, yeah. And sometimes in art pieces, what somebody paid for it is part of what gives it its value. All right. And I'm curious to see how this all shakes out, right? Bored Ape Yacht Club, they went to, what was it, like a $200,000 or $300,000 floor. They pulled back some since then, partially because ETH has dropped in value, but they've also dropped in per ETH price. And where will NFT and profile pic art go in the future? Will it become a thing that everybody is like has their favorite PFP on their social media, or is this just a fad? We really don't know. But I miss the Bored Ape Yacht Club, and I'm definitely not paying $200,000 or $300,000 for one. All right. Yeah, maybe someday if I hit 40 or 50 or 60 million total assets, maybe I'll consider it if they're still 200,000. I like this article here. And crypto's future is even more exciting and maybe more volatile than its present. Well, and we didn't get a lot of the details from this article. I like this headline. It goes into a little bit of the details, but they're right on this. The future is very, very bright for this technology that in many ways will change the world. It's hard to even imagine all the ways it will change the world right now. But it's coming, and it will enable new ideas to be formed and built on that we haven't even thought of yet. In some ways, it will be more volatile. I prefer altcoins because they still have lots of volatility in them, and some people hate volatility. I like volatility because generally it's easy to identify when generally things are down, which is the time I usually load up. And when people go absolutely crazy on things, that's usually when I take profits and sell. And so the volatility is a great thing if you buy with that mentality. Volatility is a terrible thing if you're buying after your friends made tons of money on XYZ coin or whichever one, and then you sell when it flips around, because it does. It goes in these cycles where it does really, really well, and then it pulls way, way back, and then it does really, really well. So if you have patience and you have the ability to set FOMO to the side and buy when it's boring, even when most people are running away, and then you hold till it's really, really good, well, that investment model has worked really, really well for me. These bear cycles going on with that idea, these bear cycles are healthy, say industry experts, but essentially what they do is they clean out some of the projects that aren't going to make it. And sometimes we lose some of the projects that are even in our portfolio. I know I have in the last month, 3 projects have failed that are in my portfolio, which always sucks. And we'll probably see some more. This is why I diversify. And let me share with you in altcoins, which what I do, and I can't tell you what to do. That's up to you. But I tend to go with these higher risk altcoins and say I buy 20. And let's say 10 of them fail, but the 10 that don't go up 50x from what I paid. Well, then that really means my overall return was 25x. Where else could you see that kind of return, 25x? Yeah, where else? So I like it. I like that strategy. And it does mean that some will fail, and it always sucks. You always want to be 100% right, and everything that you buy doesn't fail. But if everything you buy doesn't fail, you're probably being too cautious, and probably your overall returns are going to reflect that greatly. Does that make sense? I have a friend that we were comparing notes last year, and my portfolio in the same time had done 11x, and his portfolio had done 35% increase because he doesn't take hardly any risk at all. And so you can see the differences there, right? I just want to close out by taking a look at the market and generally where we're at. The last couple of days has been good as we popped up here. Generally, we're down, and perhaps there's some more to go, that we might have some more downside down to about 20,000. Some people saying that we're in for a long crypto winter, and that might be the case. I tend to think that the market tends to take the most amount of money from the most amount of people. We really never had the blow off top that we should have this cycle so far, and I still think that's coming. It's my personal opinion. That's how I've aligned my portfolio. I expect we'll probably see some more pain in the coming months to 2 months. But then what's to come after that? Well, personally, I believe that things will catch a lot of people who turn really bearish. They'll catch them out, and it might be ready for a run. We'll see how this legislation goes. Maybe they just sideline the altcoin discussion and they put Bitcoin through because it has a lot of support as a commodity, and that alone would be super bullish, because I think the massive run in altcoins happens after Bitcoin hits 100,000, and that'll wake a lot of people up to this technology. They'll feel like they missed it on Bitcoin. They don't want to try to buy a piece of Bitcoin at 100,000. And they want to throw it into altcoins. So that's my thought on how it plays out. Do want to thank you all for joining us. Are you ready to be a rainmaker? If you're not already, and join the Navy SEALs of crypto and level up your crypto game. I know this contrarian approach, coupled with fundamental analysis and a lot of patience, it works very well over time. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next time. Remember, no rain, no game.
brains, chasing all of the gains, chasing the pumps and all of the hype trains. But like in life, you buy before you could. Was told to buy when it was pouring like a rainmaker should. I buy when it's down, don't chase the boats that I miss. Cause I always make the time in mind. I stick the one out cause I'm patient like that, and I'll wait for the right time. I sell when it's high, I buy when it's low. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm just a rainmaker running the show. Calculated investments, I don't leave with my heart. Principles are simple, they're leaving a mark. Buy when it's boring, just gotta be smart. I sell when it's hype, like all the channels they pump it. That's when I was selling, got parabolic to dump it. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm a rainmaker, making my own start. I'm with the future, learning the past. Makes it time fly by, years going so fast. The game plan is mine, I'll own it now. When I reach the top, haters asking me how. Cause I'm a rainmaker, investments I love. And I follow what I learn, not relying on luck. Time is never better, the time like the present. This next 5 years is a gift and it's feeling like heaven. I'm committed to learn, studying to know that nothing comes easy, but with knowledge the game show. Sticking out this wrong, cause soon will come a bear market. Learning and growing, and when it's slow will be the target. They say it's come out, Bitcoin is dead. The massive decreases can get to your head. Sticking around, the time is better. Strong like that, I'll let the others be fretters. 2 years time, the ball will bring back the gains. That makes it worth the effort, cause here comes the rain. So let's go rainmakers, let's make it all happen. Let go of the hate, let the haters be cracking. I'm here for 5 years, let's do this together. The time is right, the time could be better. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm a rainmaker, making my own start. I'm with the future, learning the past. Makes it time fly by, years going so fast. The game plan is mine, I'll own it now. When I reach the top, haters asking me how. Cause I'm a rainmaker, investments I love. And I follow what I learn, not relying on luck. Haters be hating, the time to slow down. Addressing what they say when I'm wearing my crown. They're chasing green candles like someone who was new. I got a vision that was bigger, helping me to push through. I'm still human and sometimes it is rough, and that's what makes me special, simply I stay tough. Cause I'm a rainmaker, investments I love. And I follow what I learn, not relying on luck.